So welcome back, guys,
I'm Adilene,
and I'm Veronica.
and welcome back to the Arts Corner, where we're going to be talking about the three elements of art, which are music
Art
and theater.
and theater.
So today we're going to have a rundown of our combined four experiences with art, theater, and music. So I hope you enjoy. Okay, so today the first painting that I'm going to be discussing is called Three Women by Margaret Peterson, and it is located in the Oakland Art Museum. Okay, so from the clip that we're gonna insert it somewhere in the video of the painting. You could see that it is a very modern painting because it's more abstract and it's more free flowing, so it would be considered a more modernist painting. And since the objects of the painting are three women, it would be categorized as being more curved and linear, so there's more curved lines rather than angular, since angular represents male, so a lot of the lines are curved. And it would be considered more Dionysian because, again, the lines are very curved, it's very feminine. And by looking from the video, you could see that the two women that are sitting down create angular lines, kind of focusing towards the third woman that's there. And they would be, those diagonal lines would imply that they are in movement, since one of them is reading and the other one is writing. In real life, that means they would be moving. So the diagonal lines create that illusion that they're in movement, and the third woman that's just standing above them would make more of a vertical line, so that means she's stable, so she's not really moving. And it would be a 2D painting because there's not really a lot of cross hatching going on or a linear perspective that gives you the illusion of it being three-dimensional. And the shapes are, like I said, organic, because organic shapes are also characterized by being rounded and expressive. So the women their body shapes are more organic. There's a lot of use of primary and secondary colors, so you see a lot of yellow, blue, and red in the painting, as well as orange, violet, and green, which are secondary colors. And it's a very high saturation painting because the colors are very vibrant and expressive. And the focal point in this painting, I feel, would be the third woman standing up, because the women, like I said, they're in diagonal, so everything's kind of focusing on her. And the symmetry is very present in here because the painting is very symmetrical, where the women are both on the same side, and the windows and doors that are above them on the sides of them are also very symmetrical. They go in the same way.
Okay, so I'll be talking about a painting that I observed in the Oakland Art Museum gallery, and the painting that really caught my eye was a Spring Nude by Nathan Oliveira. That painting is an oil and canvas, and it's a really low value painting. It's really feminine as well, and it is really low on saturation because of the pastel colors. And it also contains a lot of warm colors such as red, yellow, like really warm colors. And it's also a monochromatic painting as well because of the different shades, like the different tints of red. For example, it has pink, like it doesn't really have like a really dark pink, but it's like really soft. So it would be like it's like if it was a red with white, it creates pink, and like that they add more like white in it. The pink just, like, let's say just fades away, like really like. And this painting also was a gift of the artist in memory of Edna. I thought that was interesting, and when I saw that painting, there was also like a little quote that was on the side of, not the painting, but on the museum. It said, "I try so hard to change my painting, but no matter how much I try, the symbol to the single figure remains." Okay, the second painting I observed was at CSU Stanislaus at the art gallery by Montoya, and the painting that really caught my eye was the Mujer Zapatista. It was made in 1998. The main focus of the painting is the female. It really has very curvilinear lines, and it's very Dionysium. It's really expressive, emotional, and it also has organic shapes. The roundness of her face, like the her shoulders, and very flowing. And it has positive shapes because she's the main focus in it. And this painting has very high value. There's a lot of light, warm colors such as red, yellow.
So the second painting that I also chose to analyze more in depthly was one by Melquiades Montoyo. Mine was El Cantor, and this artist that we chose is also a more recent painter artist. Both of the paintings that we chose were created in the 2000s, so it's interesting to see the distinction between paintings like our first two that were from the early 19th century, 20th century, I mean, to ones that are from the 21st century. His paintings are really influenced by the Chicano social movement, so there's a lot of emotions that go into his paintings. And so in my painting, the main object is a male, so a lot of the lines are angular. So they would be considered more Apollonian since it's more male and angular. And there is some linear perspective in this painting, as you will see when we insert the video or the short clip of the painting. The man is kind of in the bottommost corner of the painting, and he is the biggest object in the painting. And as you move up in the painting, the lines get smaller and they kind of come to a point where the sun is at. So it's linear, kind of getting off that linear perspective that the mountains and the sun in the background are smaller and farther away. And the focal point is the sun. So the lines again from the crop fields go into the sun. So it's kind of, I feel like, as the sun in this painting is a symbol of hope for that immigrant labor that's there. And the path of vision takes you to the sun again. Okay, so for this part, we're going to move on to the theater part. And for our theatrical experience, we went to go watch the Book of Mormon in Fresno, California. And so, as many of you guys know, the Book of Mormon is a very well-known Broadway play. Broadway play / musical. So therefore, since it is a Broadway play, it is a for-profit theater since the company is making money and so are the actors. And we noticed that throughout the play there was a lot of subtext, that is where the lines actually have underlying meanings. And an example of this would be the baptism scene, like many others, where Elder is talking to the female character where he said that he's going to baptize her. But the underlying meaning of that, as most adults can recognize, can kind of have like sexual undertones, and that's what a lot of the lines in the play resembled. There was a lot of subtext and a lot of sexual undertones, or more adult humor undertones.
Okay, so this theater was a thrust arena. It had 3 sides, one on each side and one in the middle. It was also like 2 floors, and it had like 20 to 30 cast members, and it also had a pit orchestra that followed along with the play.
And there was very elaborate sets, a lot of set changes, and there's big musical numbers, and really couldn't tell any of the things that was going on backstage, so everything was very seamless.
And it was well focused, like,
yes,
to the characters.
And so our next theatrical experience we also did together
in Le Grand,
California. It was a pastorela, so it's a Christmas play, so it would be more liturgical since it is religious aspect.
And it was a not-for-profit theater, so this wasn't like the one of Book of Mormon. It wasn't as popular, and it wasn't like a pastorela to make money off of.
So therefore, because of that, they didn't have access to all of like the elaborate sets for people to make. So there was no set changes. It was just very simple, and the main focus is on the characters and what they were saying.
And it was just a small production. It was actually in a school gym, and it only had like 8 to 12 cast members.
And so, since they don't have the budget that a Broadway production would have, you could actually see where the people who were changing the lights were at and how they were changing from each light, changing the light and moving the lights to hit certain spotlights. So it was a very small production, and they were also very limited since they were a not-for-profit theater, which is a big difference from when you go watch a Broadway play.
Okay, for our music part, we went to the Oakland Symphony, and the conductor was by Michael Morgan. This orchestra was classical. It's a symphony orchestra which contained woodwinds, strings, brass, percussion, and it had a lot of rhythm.
And the music that was played during this concert was very atonal, so it was very pleasing to the ear, very soothing. And since it is a very recognized orchestra and they're all very trained professionals, the intonation and pitch were excellent. Everybody was on time, and it started playing at the time they were supposed to, so everything was very choreographed.
The last concert I attended was held at Stanislaus on November 1st. It was Jacob Ziegler Trio, 3 men playing 3 different kinds of instruments, such as the cello, which belongs on the strings section, the drums, and the piano, which belong on the percussion group. All these instruments were played at the same time, creating melody, rhythm, like making different types of beats.
So for my other musical experience, I decided to go to something that was completely different than this Oakland Symphony. I wanted to go to something that was kind of like on the other side of the spectrum when it came to music. So for that, I went to a jazz concert. It was at Stan State, and it was the Stan State Jazz Ensemble with special guest Chad Lefkowitz-Brown. And right off the bat, you can tell just how different these two styles of music are. So the Oakland Symphony is obviously very refined, very choreographed, very in sync to what they're supposed to be doing. And obviously in jazz, it's known for being a very improvisational style of music, and for its unique tonality where because it's so improvisational, the sounds vary, where the tempo could be really slow where you have like a really upbeat song, or the tempo can be really low where it's like a more soothing style of jazz music. So I thought that was really interesting, really cool. Also, you could notice that it's very polyrhythmic because since you do have so many instruments that go into it as well, like in a symphony orchestra, there was times where there would be the drum player where he would be having a steady beat, and then the sax would accompany the sax and kind of go along with the sax to create like the main melody, while the other instruments went along and provided harmony. So it was a very polyrhythmic, and again, the tempo, if it's either a very upbeat song or a very slow and more soothing song. And so it was also interesting to see that, like in the symphony, there's still a lot of instruments that go into play. They're just used in very different ways to create a sound that is completely different from classical music and a symphony would be. And so the instruments that I saw were saxophone, obviously, for the soloist who is a soloist saxophone player. So the saxophone, the drums, the clarinet, the trumpet, trombone, double bass, piano, etc. So the only main difference here that in a jazz concert you're not going to see string instruments. So I just felt that this experience was kind of completely different, and I really enjoyed it.